So the State of the Union address happened. That's okay. Um, there's some good beats out of it. There's some touching moments. Some really cool shit. I remember Rush Limbaugh back when I was in high school. My high school history teacher loved the guy. I listened to him and thought he was an asshole. Couldn't stand him very much. But what I found interesting in the whole thing was the snubbing he did to Nancy Pelosi, rightly so, because she started the biggest charade we've seen in years. He's getting acquitted today. Everybody pretty much concluded this. And then you see the partisanship. Democrats sat down most of the time. Republicans stood up most of the time. When Obama was in office, it was exactly the same. Republicans sat down most of the time. Democrats stood up all of the time. It's ridiculous. The only people that seem to remain neutral-ish are the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the military leaders. They sit there stoic, straight, and ever unchanging, and just stare like death stare into their face. It's very creepy. And the justice, they never stand or clap, not once. Although Kavanaugh did kind of let out a smile when his name was mentioned, and rightly so, because they dragged his ass through the mud through a false allegation from a crazy ass fucking psychologist who says she was afraid of flying, but flies fucking everywhere. I'm afraid of flying, but you flew here and you flew to several vacations in the last year, so you're not afraid of flying, actually. Oh no, I'm terrified. Oh, I'm sure you are. If people were terrified of flying, they wouldn't fly, they'd drive. But anyways, that's not why I want to talk. I want to talk today about the governor of Michigan's response. I found it hilarious. I think it was um, delusional. That's another good way to put it. And I think we should go over it a little bit of it. Now, let's just listen to her, shall we? That I think that's the most appropriate thing we can do is listen to her own words because why not?
You all for coming. But tonight, I'm going to talk to those of you who are watching at home. I'd need a lot more than 10 minutes to respond to what the president just said.
Yes, you would need a lot more than 10 minutes. And that tone that I just heard in your voice, I need a lot more than 10 minutes to. I mean, it's you tried to sound poignant and partial, I guess, but you came off as partisan and we're sick of your shit. Quite literally. Let's continue.
So instead of talking about what he is saying, I'm going to highlight what Democrats are doing.
No, you're not. I've watched this already. No, you're not. You are going to highlight what he was saying. Well, he was listing his accomplishments. So he has done things. And not to mention, speech is also an action. So you're not going to mention that Adam Schiff and fellow Democrats have lied to the American public for the last 4 years. Russia colluded with Trump. We have direct evidence that he has done so. I have been personally exposed to evidence that Russia and Trump have colluded and cheated in this election. These are things that Schiff has said. Now, his actions back up his words. He is so adamant and convicted in his own lie that he has taken this all the way to an impeachment trial. That should tell you enough. But here's the fun part about that. It wasn't a trial against Russia and Trump collusion. It's a trial with Ukraine and supposed quid pro quo with no evidence. They wanted to pull in witnesses. Their witnesses are hearsay. There is no witness. There is not a witness that would testify in favor in any ways or means of what the Democrats are saying. This John Bolton guy, if you read the report, is somebody heard something that guy wrote in his manuscript that might be there. We haven't seen the manuscript yet. How is that evidence? I don't think his book hasn't even dropped yet. So you're doing it for sales for the guy for his book because he wrote negative things about Trump. That's what you're doing. That's pretty fucking pathetic. Anyways, let's continue.
After all, You can listen to what someone says, but to know the truth, watch what they do.
I agree. Let's watch what you say and what you didn't do in your opening statement.
Michiganders are no different from Americans everywhere. We love our families and want a good life today and a better life tomorrow for our kids. We work hard, and we expect our government to work hard for us as well. We have grit and value loyalty, and we still root for the Detroit Lions. We and all Americans might be weary of today's politics, but we must stay engaged. Our country, our democracy, our future demand it. We're capable of great things when we work together. We cannot forget that despite the dishonesty and division of the last few years, and that we heard tonight from the President of the United States, together we have boundless potential.
Yeah, let's talk about that dishonesty for a little bit. Covington kids, whose fault was that? Whose fault was that? Legacy media lying about a child. Whose fault was that? Me too. That was an amazing experience. Due process right the fuck out the window in favor of he raped me. Where's your evidence? I don't need any. Okay. Believe all women, right? This lady, I'm pretty convinced, is another progressive that got elected. But I digress.
And young Americans are proving that every day by taking action. That's what I want to focus on tonight. Monty Scott is 13 years old and lives in Muskegon Heights, Michigan. Monty Street was covered in potholes. They were ankle deep, and he got tired of waiting for them to get fixed. So he grabbed a shovel and a bucket of dirt and filled them in himself.
Okay. She wanted to talk about her words and actions, right? Well, her words say that she cares about Michigan. Her actions say that she's the governor of Michigan, couldn't be bothered with doing what her job is required, and allocating funds to the Department of, what would that be? The Department of Motor Vehicles? Whatever their department is that is in charge of the roads, and fixing the sons of bitching roads. Most states have this problem when you live above a certain area where you get snow. Because what happens is they lay down the asphalt, right? And then snows a shit ton. And the snow plows come along and they just scrape that asphalt. They drop it all the way down to the ground. And sometimes you see sparks fly off of these trucks. It's pretty nightmarish the way they do it because they have it at an angle and they just plow the whole road in like a really kind of beautiful concert. So if you see it at the front end, it's just one big pie. It's like a big wave. It's really cool. Anyways, her state has potholes. Michigan has shit ton of snow. Her state had pothole problems that she failed to fix. That's on her. So what happens? Because she's allocating funds to other shit, diversity is our strength, for example. Just check her Twitter feed. Instead of paying to fix the roads in her state, she neglects them. And then next thing you know, somebody gets sick of the shit, grabs some dirt, and fills it in for her. Seriously? That was her job. It was her job to allocate funds. It was her job to go to the state's House and Senate and say, adjust the budget so we can fix our roads. Our infrastructure needs help. Meanwhile, see, I'm from Utah. Had the same problems. Utah had big ass fucking potholes. Those potholes didn't stay damaged for long. They would be fixed we called it orange cone season every summer. Because what would happen is during the winter, the plows would just rip the shit out of the roads. During the summer, they'd go through and fix every pothole. Every year. You would have a pothole in the street for maybe a week. Maybe. On all roads. Not just the subdivisions were unleft. Like everything got fixed. Meanwhile, in a democratically ran state by this governor, you got the citizenry saying, well, the fucking government ain't gonna fix it. I'll do it myself. She put it on her Twitter feed saying, oh, he is stunning and brave. Look how great he is for fixing those roads when he just took it upon himself to do. Bitch, it's your job. You just admitted to not doing your job in 1 minute and 37 seconds into your opening address. And you want us to say, look at what Democrats are doing. Fucking nothing. You didn't do shit. Do I have to go further into this? I mean, seriously, she does the knock at the very end. And you know what? I'll skip the rest of it because it's pretty much the same thing. I just wanted to cover this and start with her hypocritical statement right off the goddamn bat because the rest of it is hypocrisy too. I'll leave a link in the description. I just wanted to show this part in particular and then roll through it and then make my point. You caught her in hypocrisy right off the bat. It took 1 minute and 38 seconds. Hypocrite. You want to worry about what Democrats are not doing, in fact. You want to talk about action? Democrats run California. How bad is it there that you have needles all over the fucking floor, homeless biting people, small businesses closing down because of the homeless problem? Trash fucking everywhere. So bad that the Republican citizens get sick of it and they go clean it up for you. Why? Because your LA freaking garbage system doesn't do its job. Where are you funding your people? If it's such a diverse working space, right? Why aren't you paying for people to pick up trash? Yeah, there is certain accountability. I'll give you this. There's certain accountability for trash in general, right? Somebody puts it there. But when you put it in the trash bin, the big ass freaking bins that they usually have at like stores or strip malls or, you know, the ones that are massive, you have them in apartment complexes too, where everybody takes their trash to that one area. If the Department of Waste or whatever department you have in your state is not doing their damn job or not getting paid enough to do their job, because the other thing she puts in there is you should get paid for the hours you work. Well, guess what? If you don't get paid for the hours you work, that is fraud, it is illegal, and you can sue the person that's not paying you. Is it worth it? Yeah, especially when you can prove that you work those hours. You can show that you're on the clock. It's easy to do. Especially in today's technological age. You can show your GPS location on your phone. Say, yeah, I was at work. I was working. Here's me taking a picture of work. I did a little video while I was doing my work. I also showed the time. I put timestamps on all this stuff. I worked 47 hours this week. I got paid for 38. He skipped me 8 hours. I want my 8 hours. Including the 7 hours of overtime because everything over 40 is overtime. Give me my fucking money. I actually worked for a company that did this. They would conveniently miss hours off your check. They got sued for it, class action lawsuit, and was forced to pay all employees the hours missing. Fortunately, I don't know how I finagled this. I was one of the people that didn't get skimped on their check. I went back and looked when it started getting a rumor, just a rumor, like the lawsuit hadn't happened yet. And I went back and checked my own pay stubs and was like, they're not skipping me. Why is that? Well, I got to be friends with the owners. So it was clearly the owners who are skipping people on their checks. That's pretty shady fucking shit. Anyways, yeah, let's talk about those actions. Every democratically led state that I've seen thus far, California being a good example, New York being the other, crime has risen. Drugs have risen. Human trafficking has risen. In the presidential address, he talked about sanctuary cities. They've released criminals back into their cities. He pointed out one where he went out and went on a killing spree after he was released into the sanctuary city, already being an illegal alien. He wasn't supposed to be in our country in the first place. And you put him back out in the streets, and he just killed a fucking bunch of people. That's democratic action. Do you see that happening in Republican states? Not so much. Las Vegas. Man gets up in a tower and shoots 50 people. Democratically run state. People just let him walk by. People did nothing. It was probably gun-free zone too, knowing these dumbasses. A lot of tragedies have happened, and they've happened in all states, to be honest. But it seems like the ones that get highlighted are in states that are democratically run. Now, the impeachment is the final show. I'm going to be doing a video on it where I'm going to start in 2016. I don't want to spoil it. But nonetheless, we will see the inaction. And within a minute and 37 seconds, she's already been a hypocrite of her own statement. Instead of watching what they're or listening to what they're saying, watch what they're doing. She preaches about diversity being her strength. She preaches about we're stronger together. She likes the Me Too movement. Yet she can't even fix the budget to fund fixing her roads in her own state. Instead, a citizen is like, all right, government ain't going to do it. I'll fucking do it myself. And she has the audacity to use that as an example of her strength and unity in her fellow Michiganders. Really? You just demonstrated the ineptitude of your own government in your state, and you're in charge of it. Good job. Well, I'm done with this. I don't need to continue further. I'll leave a link in the description so you can see the side angle and whatnot of this person basically touting Democrats are great. Really. It only took you a minute and a half to become a hypocrite. I'll see you next time.
How dare you challenge me with your so-called kung fu? You don't have a chance.